Hey all, welcome to yet another episode of the We All Serve podcast. I believe this is episode number 18, but we've got a sort of familiar face on the screen over there. That handsome gentleman over there, Angel Torres, is he's like floating away over there, wheeling aside. I am Shalom.
I have rollerblade wheels on the bottom of my chair. It's awesome.
This is going to be a fun episode. I could tell already. It's going to be good. So, my name is Shalom Klein. I am privileged to serve as an officer in the United States Army Reserve. And my buddy Angel over here, he didn't pick well. He got into the Navy, but has experience on both the enlisted and the officer side. And you met Angel in a prior episode of the We All Serve podcast. By the way, a plug, if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you're getting on Spotify, Google, Apple, anywhere where your favorite podcasts are found. And make sure you're clicking subscribe and reviewing. This gives more people the opportunity to find the podcast. And as we always say, we all serve. And today, certainly, we will have a great conversation about that. Doesn't matter whether you put on the uniform, which uniform you put on, or where you are. Bottom line, we all serve, especially in times like this when so many people are struggling from the effects of COVID-19, whether it's around physical health, mental health, or employment. We all know somebody that is. I hope everybody's staying safe and healthy. So with that, Angel, buddy, welcome back to We All Serve.
I am so happy to be back and to join you on this podcast. It's such a great format and form, and I think that the chemistry and the people we interview are it's phenomenal. It's like nothing else.
It's awesome. We've already had a number of awesome conversations with amazing leaders from across the veteran community and folks serving the veteran community. I'm excited for today's conversation with Rod Levy from Code Platoon. Should be an awesome conversation. And in future days and weeks, we've got an awesome lineup. So again, make sure you're subscribing and finding this. So I know we've already got a number of people clicking in to tune in. So Angel, anything going on in your week that our listeners and viewers should know about in the veteran community?
Yeah, Illinois Joining Forces is in the process of doing a rebrand and doing a survey to find out the best way that they can serve as a resource for military veterans throughout the state. And I was working with them this morning and helping them identify that and bring value to our brothers and sisters who have served, and just doing a lot of diversity and inclusion consulting and, helping the organizations operate better. So this is fun. I'm excited. I'm ready to talk to my buddy Rod. I haven't seen him in a while.
Let's do it. So I'm absolutely pumped to bring on Rod over here, who is an awesome leader, as we said, serving those in the veteran community. There he is right now. So Rod Levy is the founder and executive director of Code Platoon. Spent 20 plus years in finance and entrepreneurship, was partner at G-Bar Limited Partners, where he co-founded and managed their volatility arbitrage trading deck, BBR Trading. He built the team to 20 traders and software developers and was one of the founders of Serio, an internal software startup that was a complex event processing platform as a service company. He holds undergraduate and master's degree in engineering from Cornell University, an MBA from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, where he graduated with honors. And Rod has also completed Dev Bootcamp's web developer program. So with that, Rod, welcome to We All Serve.
Thanks, Shalom, for having me. That's quite a mouthful. I'm going to trim back that bio a little bit, but you hit the high points.
It's all true. It's all true.
Was Booth really a high point? Let's talk about that. From a shameless Kellogg guy. Was it really? No, man, that's an amazing school. The rivalry goes back and forth. Yeah.
And we'll keep on going. That's right.
So Rod, let's start with just letting our listeners and viewers know about Code Platoon, because that will be a lot of what we're going to talk about, because it really is an awesome service to the veteran community. So what is Code Platoon for those very few that have not yet heard about the amazing stuff that you're doing?
Thanks. Well, Code Platoon is a nonprofit coding bootcamp for veterans and military spouses. What that means is that we have a training program. It's a 14-week immersive training program where we train veterans and military spouses to become professional junior software developers. It's a really all immersive, all-inclusive, comprehensive training program, and we really make this a low lift for the veteran and military spouse to go through our program, in that we provide generous scholarships on the way in, and we partner with Chicago companies on the way out for internships and apprenticeships. And in between, all our students have to do is just work incredibly hard for 14 weeks.
Totally awesome. Great stuff. Angel, take it away.
Right. I know that you guys have a very robust screening process for people to get into the program. I know we've talked about it previously. Can you walk me through? My understanding was that you ask them a few questions when they express interest in the program, and then you give them the tools and resources to clear and make the grade to get into your program. And it's basically geared towards finding out if they really have the heart to complete a program like this. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, you've hit the most important part right there. Our admissions process is designed to identify the veterans and military spouses who are really deeply interested in this as a career path. So we're really checking for grit, interest, and some aptitude. And the way we do that is our application process anybody can apply as long as they're a veteran, military spouse, or active duty. And if they go through the process, there's a couple of questions. We do want to know about your background, but really the meat of it is a set of coding challenges that we present. And these are coding challenges that if you've taken 1 or 2 semesters of computer science in college, you're probably ready to answer them or close to it. But if you haven't, and our expectation is actually that you haven't taken any computer science, more than 50% of our students have never seen any kind of coding before they start our application, then we pass them along to our tutorials. And our tutorials, they should expect to take somewhere between 30 to 60 or 70 hours going through them. And that's going to teach them the basics.
Wow.
Now, our attitude is, if you think that you're going to like this, the first 30 to 60 hours are really going to fly by. I mean, for the people that like this, they don't just like it, they love it. But if you feel that you're killing yourself to finish that 30th hour, this may not be the right path for you. And we've maybe spared you a lot of trouble trying to figure out if you want to be a software developer. So we want people to self-identify by going through this process. And that's it. We don't care what branch you were in. Obviously, Army reservists get first crack at this. Navy comes somewhere right after that. No, we don't.
Yeah, the Army reservists need all the help they can get. How do you get the dirt from under their nails? I mean, when they've been grinding their knuckles in the ground and stuff. It's hard. Isn't it hard, like the keys and stuff?
Yeah, since I didn't serve, I don't know the details of the different service requirements.
Shalom had that comment from earlier. Don't think I don't remember that.
That's true. That's true. I can tell we're gonna have a lot of fun together, Angel. This is good. Yeah, no. So, Rod, I want to get deeper into the programs that you offer, and I know we'll talk over the course of this conversation about the reason coding is such a hot industry, especially now where so many of us are working remotely. You have, as I've seen, so many different offerings to make it easy for folks that have worn the uniform and military spouses to participate in programs, either full-time, part-time, all that. So we'll get into that in just a couple of minutes. But I did share your very impressive bio over there. So, Rod, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us where you sort of developed that career and where you initially sort of found your interest in this world of, it's a mixture, it sounds like for you, of entrepreneurship, nonprofit leadership, but also this love of coding and the abilities that it brings. And we'll get a little bit deeper into how that's been working in terms of service for veterans and military spouses.
Sure, great. So the first part of my career, I was an engineer by trade, but then I went right into finance. And I was in finance for 20 plus years, loved it, went very well for me. I was very fortunate to be at the right place at the right time, the right people. And, I kind of made a good living for myself. And when that came to an end, I'd grown tired of the industry. I really was looking for my next thing, and I knew that entrepreneurship was going to be one of the critical pillars of my next step, but I didn't know exactly in what. And so I knew that if I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I needed to either be the business person, the tech person, or really the sales, marketing, revenue person, right? And I had an MBA. We'd done an internal startup. The business part, I had a pretty good handle on all the aspects of the business part. Yeah. But if you start a company, if you want to be a startup founder today and you think you're the business person, you find out that for every 10 business people, there's one tech person. There's one revenue person. So I realized I really needed to pick up another skill, and the tech skill seemed to me very achievable. I had an engineering background, and so I spent a long time trying to figure out how do I become a software developer? How do I get those basic skills? And then I found Dev Bootcamp, and Dev Bootcamp was the very first coding bootcamp of its kind. And the premise that Dev Bootcamp offered was, you want to learn how to be a developer. You don't have a CS background. How are you going to do it? Come to our program, and in 9 weeks, that was their program, we're going to take all the most important tools that you need, and we're going to teach you those tools and some of the fundamentals and get you out there and get you writing code. So the analogy they would draw is, if you went to a university program, master's degree, you're an architect, right? You have a high-level view of how things work. Maybe you're not ready to start writing stuff. Maybe you are, but you have a much higher view of how the whole process works. What that bootcamp said is, we're going to train carpenters. We're going to get you out there. You're going to be able to build stuff out of the gate. And maybe you don't have the capacity to do sophisticated design. Maybe not yet. You can always build to that. But we're going to get you in the job market. And the job market then, this is back in 2013, was as hot as it is today in terms of software developers. They cannot hire software developers quickly enough in the job market. And the gap continues to expand. More jobs are opening than are getting filled. And computer science programs can't fill that need. So I went through this program. Sure enough, 9 weeks later, I had a job offer as a software developer. And I was like, this is amazing. And all 16 of my fellow students also had offers as software developers. And we had folks who had artists, drivers, like all kinds of backgrounds, but very few who were STEM. So I did that for a little while, realized that this is just an incredibly powerful model. And also that, by the way, software development's hard. And I didn't really want to do it. I wanted to build something. I didn't want to just be slinging code all day. So I sat with that for a while. And then one day, I'm going to bore you with this, but I have to because it's funny. My 13-year-old son asked me, hey, can we get Call of Duty? And I said, well, I don't know if I'm ready for you to get Call of Duty. I have no problem with the game, but you're a little bit young, first-person shooter, et cetera. And he said, okay, that's fine. But just so you know, all the sales from Call of Duty that very first day go to the Call of Duty Foundation. And by the way, here's a link to the foundation. So a couple of days later, I finally opened up the link. And the link talks about why the Call of Duty Foundation is a veteran supporting foundation. And it talks about veteran unemployment, talks about veteran underemployment, difficulty transitioning to the workforce that veterans face, and how their skills are underappreciated because there's this skills translation gap. And I sat there and I read this. And I'd always had an affinity for veterans. I'm an immigrant. I came to this country when I was very young. I have a deep love and respect for the men and women who choose to stand up and defend this great nation. So if the very first nonprofit I ever donated to was Disabled American Veterans when I was in college. So when I saw this, I thought, well, this is unbelievable. I did not know that there was this skills gap and this underemployment and unemployment issue. And I just went through a program that can really help address part of this issue. We're not going to solve 100,000 lives, but we can solve some. So I'm going to go volunteer at a veteran coding bootcamp while I figure out my next step out. Sure enough, turns out that didn't exist in 2014. Here I am in a time in my life when I don't need my next paycheck. I feel indebted to the men and women who've served us, and I have a toolkit in front of me that I can help bring to this population. And so let's try it. And I put together a board and said, let's run alpha platoon, and just like any other lean startup model. Let's do this all right.
Beta test, yeah,
etc. And figure out who's doing this well. We modeled a little bit after a couple other nonprofits. Year Up, a developers academy, tried to borrow the best that we could find. Partner with a couple companies, some connections that I had, and some friends that I had. And sure enough, it was a success. We graduated 8 students. We got almost all of them jobs right out of the gate. Today, 6 of them are still in software development, making 6 figures generally or more. And that's when we decided this is a program that works, and we just rolled. Then that was 2016, 2017. We started going to 3 full-time sessions a year here downtown Chicago, and here we are today.
Yeah, and if we can talk about let's talk a little bit before we started the podcast about one of your success stories, one that I was kind of blown away with. And when I mentioned her characteristics are like, she automatically just jumps in your head, like, yeah, Deja. And Deja Baker is someone who the background on her, she's an enlisted sailor, cryptologic technician, went to Naval Academy and then left, and then got out and went and worked in, I think, finance or something. And then she went to Code Platoon. And shortly after Code Platoon, she walked me through, she said, you guys ran her, because we were sitting on a panel together, you guys ran her from like day one and started like the gauntlet of vetting her and preparing her for the interviews that she was going to have to do, so that when she came time to meet with these employers or these partners that you guys are showcasing your students to, she was 100% ready, 100% confident, and knew exactly how she was going to talk to them, because you guys had drilled down so hard. And we were just talking before the cast about how she's actually started her own startup and just received seed money from University of Chicago. So if there's a testament and to our legacy that you would attribute, that would definitely be one I would be proud of.
Oh yeah, Deja was a rock star. We have a lot of rock stars. She's amazing. She was a prior enlist. I had no idea what that meant, but I guess very few prior enlists actually go into the academy. And she then she came to us. She came to us in our full Women in Technology Scholarship. So she had a full ride. We have scholarships for pretty much everyone. Most of them are somewhere between full to maybe 80% of our tuition. Although we do take the VA, GI Bill, and Vet Tech. But so she came in a full scholarship. She was really just terrific, brilliant mind, great person. And I like that she speaks to the fact that our program is much more than just coding. I mean, that is probably 80% of the program, but we're concerned about the whole person. We're concerned about the whole career placement experience. So we spend a lot of time on resume prep, interview prep, behavioral interviews, whiteboard interviews, LinkedIn preparation. We pair them with mentors. We pair them with professional teaching assistants. So they have a network that they can tap into. And then she went on to work at one of our favorite corporate sponsors. That's DRW. It's kind of a under the radar trading firm. If you've ever heard of Citadel, DRW might be a private equivalent of Citadel. They don't take outside money, but they're every bit as sophisticated.
Oh, wow.
And their hiring standards, by the way, are every bit as elite. And Deja went there and worked for a while, and then I think she went over to Braintree. So yeah, and actually I think I know Fast Company did a profile on her as well.
That's awesome.
That was great.
That's awesome stuff, Rod. And let's touch on, since it's a perfect segue into the scholarships. You are the founder, the executive director. I know you have an amazing reason. Us, Paul was the very first guest on We All Serve, and he immediately thought of you. And I know he's proud of his board service. So let's talk about your board. Let's talk about the sort of the evolution of the organization. And I know as the executive director, and my background's in nonprofits, so I certainly know that means it's a glorified word for it means that you are out there raising funds and raising support to ensure that veterans and military spouses, as you said, almost everybody is eligible for some level of scholarship. And that means that you are making that possible. So let's talk about the evolution of the organization since your founding and where it is now and who's been supporting your work.
Well, we have a range of really wonderful board members who we have, as I'm sure you know, Shalom, when you start a nonprofit, you're not getting the president of AT&T to come on your board and then fundraise and get $1 million. Right, our board is what we consider more of a working board. Paul is a perfect example of that. So Paul is at Accenture, and what that means is that he's in there getting his hands dirty. He's generating relationships for us within Accenture through his work. Now we're tapped into Accenture's apprenticeship program. So we are directly tied in. We've had hires go through that program. So that is the kind of work that our board does, and we've got board members who are really illustrious. tech leaders, thought leaders. We've got engineers at Google. We have folks who own their own software consultancies. We have a couple alumni that we're very proud of. And we do have some senior members at JP Morgan and Motorola Solutions and DRW. So we're kind of all over the place, but we have just a very diverse, interesting, active, and engaged board that helps support us. And to your point, does help us raise funds so that everyone can be supported financially as they come through a program.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff that you're doing, and awesome for all of the supporters for making that happen.
One thing I noticed, and I was just wondering, when someone looks at Code Platoon and veterans are kind of knuckleheads like this, and I say that have being one of those knuckleheads, is they'll look at Rod Levy and they'll not understand your background story. And I was wondering if you encountered any resistance entering the veteran space because you didn't have that military background yourself, and how and so clearly you were able to mitigate that. If you did, if it even existed, you were able to mitigate that with your authenticity. And I'd just like to hear your thoughts on that and your journey.
Yeah, thanks. I was very concerned about that. I really was. I had this sense, that I was not of this community. So how would I be accepted by the community? And that's part of the reason why, Paul will probably tell you after a couple of beers that I basically accosted him and took multiple efforts to finally convince him that this was a journey worth taking, because it was very early days when he signed on. So I applaud him for taking that risk and helping us grow. So I knew that bringing somebody like Paul, who did have a lot of credibility in the military community, and some other veterans on our board would help establish that credibility. But at the same time, what I found was that the veteran community was very welcoming, to the point where many of them would say, we do trust our own, but we're especially thankful that you're not one of us, and still extending a branch and helping support our journey back into the civilian workspace. So I think the biggest issue wasn't would I be welcomed by the community, but I think part of it was this inherent distrust within the veteran community of organizations that are so many times taking advantage of the veterans. So we did work very hard to establish trust. Everything we do is transparent. Our outcomes are transparent. Our board is all listed. Everything. I'm an open book. So I know that we have to be transparent about everything we do to continue to maintain the trust of the veteran community.
Well, Rod, you're a perfect example of, as the name of the pod suggests, we all serve, that you don't need to wear the uniform in order to make an impact, and you are assisting so many folks. My next question is, what makes a military service member, or frankly their spouses, ideal to go into coding as a career? Why does this make sense in general, and specifically right now?
Sure. So the career, why it's a good career right now for veterans, but really for anybody, is that on the demand side, the employer demand is strong and growing. In terms of a fluid, flexible community, software developers can work wherever they want, and companies, especially on the software developer roles, are more and more offering remote part-time or remote full-time roles. So in terms of a great career with no glass ceiling and terrific financial rewards, flexibility of location, you can't beat it. Now, why are veterans and military spouses suitable for it? Well, what people may not realize is that coding, I think there's a misconception that to be a software developer, you need to be a STEM person. You need to be a science, tech, engineering, or math person. And that's just not true. Some of our students are, and they do well. But what we really look for are problem solving. And what do they teach you in the military when you come in? Whatever your role is, you're going to have to be on the field solving a problem. And they give you the rules to how to do that. So a problem-solving capacity, experience of solving problems, is one of the most fundamental skills that a veteran can bring to the table. Then there's teamwork. Most of our graduates will go on to work on a software development team. The teams usually are somewhere between 4 to 12 folks at a time. And so if they don't have, so if you take, I'm gonna roll a little bit against high school and college grads, if you come out of college, you're 21 years old, you come out of a top program, and you go into a development team, you're not necessarily ready to work in a team. You don't really understand what it means to support your fellow member. You don't have the emotional IQ yet to be able to work effectively.
But you do have a lot of debt.
You do a lot of debt. You're really interested in getting out of it.
And you can do a keg stand like a champ.
That's right. And you know how to TikTok backwards and forwards. But in terms of being able to work with a team, solve problems, and then there's one sort of subtle point is that this idea of leadership, that what happens all the time when you're working on a development team is that there is a leadership gap, whether it's a small one or a big one, where a project is being worked on and something is falling through the cracks, or a big piece of a project needs to be undertaken. Someone's got to carry the load. And if you're junior, you're not used to stepping into a position of leadership, you probably don't step up and say, hey, I need to solve this problem. Veterans and spouses don't have this problem. They're used to being in a situation where they need to communicate that there's a problem and the problem needs to be resolved. So like we tell this to our employer partners all the time, you're going to love our graduates on a team, but once they actually get them, that's when they come back and say, we love your grads. We love having them on a team. I'm compared to a 21 or 23-year-old with a CS degree who might have been my alternative hire, I've got somebody who's mature. I've got somebody that knows how to work with me. I've got somebody that knows how to communicate. So these are all skills that they've developed in their service or supporting. From what I understand in the military spouse community, they have it just as hard, if not harder, many times than the veterans themselves. They have to be able to manage a household. They have to be able to relocate on a dime. And so this flexibility, this ability to work under duress are skills that, again, translate really well into our program. And by the way, the spouses we've had go through a program are some of our absolute shining stars.
The last thing I would want to ask you would be, amid COVID, and all the layoffs and people that don't have any kind of career options, I always say you need to pivot or perish. Have you seen a surge in your student enrollment driven by people that were just getting laid off left and right and don't want to have that employment insecurity throughout their life, in addition to people that get out of the service? And I think I saw a study yesterday that said they're not making very much money and they're satisfied with medium underemployment, underemployed jobs. And I would want to know how you feel about the opportunity to completely change their financial trajectory.
Well, I mean, there's nothing like it, right? Most of our students come in, they're making less than the median household income in the country. And when they come out, our salaries are, $65,000 is the median. Within 2 to 3 years, we're making six figures with some regularity. And so it's just an amazing, life-changing opportunity from a financial standpoint. In terms of COVID, to your question, yes, we've definitely seen an uptick in folks who are either thinking that they need to pivot their careers or who've been laid off. We've had a couple of United Airlines employees, ex-employees apply. So both those factors are definitely coming into play. We, not from the get-go, but for a while now, we've had both an in-person downtown Chicago classroom and a remote classroom. We've since gone all remote for now, but we'll continue to have this remote program all the whole time. And Shalom, earlier you talked about different programs. We also have an evening and weekend program. That's a remote program. So we are about as COVID friendly as an organization could be, and prepared for these really turbulent times. And the financial opportunity, to your point, is incredibly high. Again, there is no glass ceiling to a software developer. These are the folks that start on a software team and eventually become the chief technical officer of companies. That's the pathway. So there's a tremendous amount of room for growth there too.
And what about placement opportunities for positions? I know folks can certainly go off on their entrepreneurial journey and start businesses on their own or start consulting or whatever the case may be. But how does your team assist in ensuring that they can reach their earning potential and go immediately from the Code Platoon classroom, whether it's in person or virtual, into getting going with their new coding career?
Sure. So we're kind of unique in that we support our students. Ultimately, what we care about is jobs. Are we getting our graduates jobs? If that's the metric that is what we measure ourselves by, and we do that.
You have to drive that value proposition. That's got to be the line. Yeah.
That's it for us, right? So all of our outcomes are viewable. They're on an organization called CIRR, They're the governing body. Not everyone reports to them. It's self-reporting if you choose to. We do choose to. We also put our outcomes on our website. We have about 75% placement depending on the session within 6 months in software development. And then the way we get such good outcomes is that we do two things. One, we have what are called corporate sponsorships. These are companies that are committing. They're saying, we are going to take someone from this class for an internship. It's not I'd like to check them out. It's, we have a spot, let's match them up. And so these are companies like JP Morgan, Granger, DRW, Chicago Trading Company, a bunch of other companies. And so no other boot camp that I know of that is a for-profit one offers something similar. And that's because companies aren't typically prepared to engage with somebody who also isn't mission driven. And then we also have a pipeline of employers that we work with. So we have a career services program. We have a career services lead, Rich. He works with companies to then assist those students that don't get placed to find full-time roles. And they work with companies that want to work with us, like Accenture, like Bloomberg, like a lot of other companies that are looking for the veteran background, whether because they want top secret clearance or because they believe in the value proposition or they just want to support.
Tax credit.
It's funny. We actually never ever bring that up, and I know we should. There are definitely tax credits for hiring veterans, but no.
Especially if they have a disability, it's huge.
You know what? It's an untapped avenue for us. None of our employers come to us with that in mind. You're right. We'd probably do a better job of finding even more employers if we offered that up.
Yeah.
And you could drive the base up. Say, look, you're saving $9,000 on this guy for your tax credit. You don't have to pay him health insurance because he's a retired guy. So that's another 15. Okay, so now his base was 65. Okay, now we're at 80. Yay, we all win.
Yeah.
We all serve, we all win.
Yeah. I need you on my board, Angel, man. I'm missing this.
Hey, Angel's available for conversations post this pod over here. So hey, I'm selling you off, Angel.
You can call me anytime, Rod. I'm always open to you, buddy.
Good stuff. Oh well, Rod. As we begin to close out over here, how can our listeners and viewers support you and support the amazing stuff that you're doing in supporting veterans, spouses, and frankly the broader business community?
Thanks, Shalom. Yeah, there's really a couple different ways. We do have a lot of volunteer opportunities for developers and for HR professionals, so that's on our website. You can donate to us. That's also on our website. Obviously, financial support is wonderful. But really, a great way to help us is spread the word. If you are drilling this weekend and you think you know somebody that might be interested in learning about this, we get a ton of referrals. It's our best way of getting our students into the door and learning about it. And also, if you're an employer and you think that you have a difficult time sourcing good junior software developer talent, come talk to me. We're going to solve that problem for you. And even if you're not looking for veterans, but by the way, if solving a D&I initiative is a problem for you, if diversity and inclusion is something that you're looking to expand and you don't know how to do that, or you do, and veterans is part of that solution, we're a one-stop shop. So really word of mouth, let people know that we're here to get these veterans into this great program and then get them into this great tech community.
It's awesome, man. And I have to ask a really last question is, so are you now an expert after spending many years of working with veterans and supporting veterans? Are you now an expert in all the abbreviations and lingo that is normal to us?
No, but he knows the Navy's the best, so he's good.
Oh my Lord, I don't even give it a shot. It's a different language.
Hey, listen, you're used to languages and coding, so you're better equipped than most, I guess.
Yeah, it's still a challenge.
Good stuff, Angel. Any closing comments or questions for Rod over here?
No, thank you, Rod, for everything you guys are doing. We've known each other for a couple of years, and your name is always really well brought up in the veteran community. And just keep doing what you're doing. And if I can ever be of service, please don't ever hesitate to reach out. And I will definitely do the same.
Thank you very much. Yes, Angel, Shalom, thank you for having me. This was a ton of fun and great luck with the podcast. Really, this is a great format. Really nice work you're doing.
Yeah, appreciate it. Always looking for veterans with a story to come on, and certainly for all of your students, encourage them to check this out, because ultimately there's so many pods that are out there talking about the challenges of service and some of the stress and trauma, and there's certainly all of those things, but there's so many positive stories of people serving and continuing to serve. So, Rod, you are certainly one of them. For all of our listeners, check out www.codeplatoon.org. Donate, support, volunteer. They're doing amazing stuff. And Rod, come back real soon. And Angel, this has been fun having you on for the first time on this side of the screen.
Next time you got to bring me flowers and maybe chocolates or something. It's Halloween tomorrow. Let's do a Halloween edition next time, and we'll wear masks and stuff.
Hey, that's fun. You sent me a
picture earlier. I went to work out before this. I went to work out before this. This is no joke. And I told my buddy, my workout partner, he's an Army Ranger, and I said, hey, man, he said, I haven't worked out in a while. What should I do? And I was like, wear a mask. So he shows up with a whole full Bane mask. He's got the whole Bane thing on. And I'm like, yeah, you have to be that guy.
Yo, Angel, in the Army, we take things seriously. If you say wear a mask, you got to be prepared.
I'm surprised he didn't show up at an MCU2 pop-up with the rubber boots and ready for chemical warfare to go like this.
See, what Angel is doing right now is yet another example of why, if you are just listening, you need to get on YouTube to actually see these conversations, because Angel has been like rollerblading all over the room as we've been doing this. It's been kind of entertaining, honestly. So good stuff. Episode number 18 of the We All Serve podcast is in the books. We've got some awesome conversations in the coming weeks, so make sure you're clicking subscribe, rating, reviewing. Rod, thank you again, my friend, and please support Code Platoon, codeplatoon.org.